How's it going, everyone? Welcome into Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Subscribers be notified when we drop our latest content on our YouTube channel by hitting that notification bell. Be sure to subscribe because we are here year round to break down the latest in Alabama football news, recruiting information. So be sure to hit that subscribe button when you get an opportunity. And on today, I want to take a look at the Crimson Tide's quarterback battle. It's going to be the talk of the offseason because who's going to be quarterback one in Tuscaloosa on next season, with Jalen Miro deciding to move on to the NFL and declaring for the NFL draft. Who steps into that role in Kalen DeBoer's second season in Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama as the Tide's head coach? Of course, a lot of talk has been going on already, and most of that talk has centered around the Crimson Tide's most experienced quarterback, and Ty Simpson, and their prized freshman, former five-star now, since he is in early enrolling and is already at the University of Alabama, and Keelan Russell. A lot of the talk have basically pitted those two against one another, but the guy who seems to be a sleeping giant, if you will, is Austin Mack, the 6'6" quarterback from California who transferred to Alabama from Washington once Kalen DeBoer took the head coaching job at the University of Alabama when Nick Saban retired. And there is not a lot of, I guess you can say, known about Austin Mack a little bit. I think that is the thing that's probably working against them in terms of people talking about this quarterback battle a little bit more so than other things. Is the fact that there is a lot of unknowns about Austin Mack. The biggest unknown that I feel is we don't know how much Mack has grown over the last two seasons of college football. Similar to Ryan Williams, Mack actually skipped his senior season of high school football. He enrolled at Washington basically as a guy who's supposed to be playing his senior year of high school football. And I think that's kind of like the first part of this video. What I want it to be about is what we do know about Austin Mack. We know that he's this 6'6", 235-pound, massive quarterback. We know, like I said, that he skipped his senior season of high school and basically joined the Washington Huskies. He was on that roster when Kalen DeBoer took that team to the college football playoff and the national championship game where they lost to the Michigan Wolverines. We also know during his final season at Folsom High School in California that he threw for 40 touchdowns, only about 5 interceptions. So he shows some ball security at that point. And if you go back and take a look at Austin Mack's huddle film in high school, I think the thing that really comes to the forefront when you take a look at this massive, just big quarterback was his ability to work from the pocket. So we know traditionally in terms of his pass, he's been at his best in the pocket. And you just take a look at some of his plays from his high school film, him working up in the pocket, delivering the ball deep really good, which is something that we saw flash during the 2024 season in his one game of action. He threw for like 39 yards and a touchdown to Rico Scott against Mercer. So I feel like that's the biggest reason why Austin Mack probably isn't getting talked about as much as Russell and as Simpson. I think there's a lot of unknown about Mack. And one of the more known things about him also is the fact that he was basically considered the Crimson Tide's fourth string quarterback during the 2024 season. As the season went on, of course, Ty Simpson was the primary backup, the Crimson Tide's most experienced quarterback, the Crimson Tide's former quarterback and now Boston College quarterback, which he transferred from the Crimson Tide. And Dylan Lonergan seemed to be the third guy behind Jalen Miro, and Austin Mack basically stood in that fourth slot, didn't get an opportunity to play until that Mercer game. So we know that at least during the 2024 season, he was considered the fourth choice when it comes to that quarterback depth chart in terms of guys getting on the field as the games went on, as Crimson Tide got a hold of games and more guys were able to get snapped. So I think looking at it, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why there's not much talk about Austin Mack. But I think when you take a look at this quarterback competition as a whole, at least in this particular point in time, I think the thing that is really, really apparent is that this quarterback battle could go so many different directions. In the past, when it comes to Alabama football, their quarterback competitions have gone in so many different directions. We've seen freshmen come in, like a guy like Jalen Hurts, the younger guy, come in and take hold of the offense and take hold of that job and not let it go, but we've also seen the more experienced guy win in these situations. You can look at a Mac Jones. You can look at Jalen Hurts early on when the Tua Tagovailoa came in as a freshman. He didn't steal the job from Jalen Hurts during that fall camp. He eventually got the job because of 2nd and 26, and the rest is history, of course. So there's so many ways that this quarterback battle can go into, because like I said earlier, Ty Simpson is just the most experienced quarterback technically, just by being on the Alabama team. By 2 full seasons, he's going to be the most experienced quarterback, but his playing time isn't very meaningful outside of a USL football game where he came in when Tyler Buckner was struggling. He came in and became the Crimson Tide's quarterback and led them to a victory. So technically you could put a win under his belt in that category, but he doesn't have a lot of game experience himself. And when you take a look at Russell, of course, he's a freshman. And when it comes to a freshman quarterback, yes, they can come in, compete. Yes, they can come in and probably be your starting quarterback. But when you take a look at a freshman, there's so much that has to go into them being your starting quarterback. You have to trust those guys fully. I feel, compared to Russell and Simpson, if I feel like it's a close battle, I'm always want to say you lean more towards Simpson because of that experience when it comes to just Russell being that freshman trying to win over his teammates, trying to win over his coaches. I think for Russell to win this job as a freshman, I think he has to be undoubtedly the best guy in that room. He has to be the guy that, we cannot keep this type of talent off the field in the way that he's playing in practice. We can't not put this guy on the sideline. I think that is what Russell is up against. I think he has to show that type of ability if he wants to be the Crimson Tide starting quarterback in Kalen DeBoer's second year, which everyone knows there's a lot of pressure on the board. So that's kind of like some of the things that may be working against Keelan Russell, although he is a talented quarterback, 5-star for a reason. I saw him at the Under Armour All-America game in practices. It was really, really impressive at practice. Probably one of the more consistent performances in terms of practice and in that game that I saw from any quarterback, guys who didn't even go to Alabama, as I've seen after going to the event for the last couple of years or so. So Russell is very impressive, and he's a guy who doesn't tend to run, but he has the athletic ability to run if he's called upon. He needs to do that. This guy keeps his eyes downfield. He's running to extend plays. So he's a guy with a lot of potential, but he has to come in and demand that quarterback spot. And each one of those guys, of course, have to do that. And when it comes to Ty Simpson, him as well, he will have to come in and command this offense. And of course, with that experience, I think he has that working in his favor. So Ty Simpson, Keelan Russell have been getting, like I said, most of the talk. But going back to Austin Mack, in my opinion, I don't think he should be slept on as much as he seems to be early on in this process, simply because of the fact that there's a lot of unknowns just in the quarterback position in general, and there's a lot of unknown about him in terms of how much he has developed over the last 2 college football seasons. I think Kalen DeBoer is a guy who has spoken glowingly about a lot of different players when it comes to the Crimson Tide, including Austin Mack, when he talked about Mack during the 2024 season, saying he's one of the hardest workers on the team. There's a lot of guys that pour a lot into it. He's doing stuff on his own pretty much every day. You pick an early morning time when we don't have practice, he's doing something in some facility in here. So he's a guy, at least based on what Kalen DeBoer has told us, is a guy who's a hard worker, who's going to put in the work to make sure that he is in a position to possibly have some success. And I think this offseason and what he does, and if he's able to make a jump and able to improve and get better, I think he's going to be a guy we could hear about during the spring and could hear about during the fall. So in my opinion, I feel like there needs to be a little bit more talk about Austin Mack and just in this quarterback competition, at least at this period of time, because I think it is a 3-man race right now, just based on what we know in terms of those guys like Russell, like Simpson, and also like Austin Mack, the 6'6" guy who may just be the sleeping giant when it comes to the Crimson Tide's upcoming QB1 battle. But you guys can leave a comment. Let us know how you feel. Do you feel Austin Mack is slept on? Do you feel Austin Mack has a legitimate chance to be the Crimson Tide's quarterback during the 2025 season? So be sure to leave a comment, leave a like. Like I said earlier, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed to Touchdown Alabama. Like I said earlier, we break down the latest in Alabama football news in recruiting information. We will be here year round with different podcasts as we continue to try to crank out the best Alabama football analysis that we can bring you guys here on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. As always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama.